Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you are watching this video lecture. As we discussed some of the conceptual aspects of AS 19 in the earlier class, today let us discuss some of the problems related to this accounting standard. But prior to that, we need to quickly revise some of the basic aspects which will be useful even for the purpose of problem solving. First thing first, we should remember the situations where a particular lease can be called as a finance lease. That kind of case-based questions can be given in the exams. And most importantly, the accounting treatment or computation of the amount at which the asset and liability has to be recorded in the books of accounts of lessee in case of a finance lease has to be remembered well. The lessee has to recognize asset also and liability also at a value which is the lower of fair value of the asset at the inception of the lease or present value of the minimum lease payments, which is discounted at implicit interest rate of lease or incremental borrowing rate of lessee, as the case may be. But what is minimum lease payments for the lessee? That is the lease rental plus any guaranteed residual value. So this is the place where we have to clearly remember guaranteed residual value is something that lessee guarantees to the lessor at the end of the lease period, which both the parties know. But unguaranteed residual value is something that only lessor knows, because lessee has not guaranteed that. That only will be known by lessor. Of course, once this entry is recorded at the beginning of the lease when the agreement is entered into, later in each year, the interest and principal amounts have to be segregated. Interest amount is treated as expenditure and amount paid towards the principal amount will be reduced from the liability, and the asset originally recorded will be depreciated also in accordance with AS 10. That is for lessee's books of accounts. When it comes to lessor, the treatment will be about recording the receivable and at the same time recording a sale of asset with net investment in lease. But what is the net investment in lease? That is nothing but gross investment minus unearned finance income. What is gross investment? Minimum lease payment, which includes lease rental plus guaranteed residual value plus unguaranteed residual value, will be becoming gross investment for the lessor. And most importantly, for the lessor point of view, even in the examinations, what will be asked is computation of unearned finance income. How to calculate that? That is gross investment minus present value of gross investment. That will be treated as unearned finance income, which will be treated as income over the period of lease term on a systematic basis by the lessor. That is about finance lease recognition. Those are the things which will be applied in solving the problems. And contingent rent has to be recognized only when it accrues, and operating lease has to be recorded as an expenditure or income depending upon whether the party is a lessee or lessor. And also sale and leaseback transactions is another important aspect from exam point of view. Questions can be asked on that also. How to treat sale and leaseback transaction in case if it is a finance lease, and also how to treat sale and leaseback transaction if it is operating lease is more important than the finance lease, because in case of finance lease anyway there is nothing special. Always whatever the profit or loss arising out of this sale and leaseback transaction of finance lease has to be deferred and amortized over the lease term. So for finance lease there is no speciality. For operating lease there are multiple situations. Those situations depend upon whether the sale price is equal to fair value or sale price is less than fair value, or if sale price is more than fair value. If sale price is equal to fair value, there is no problem for us. So immediately the profit or loss can be recognized. Even if sale price is below fair value, there is no problem. But if there is profit, there is no problem. In case there is loss, we have to check whether that loss is compensated by the future lease payments. If not, the profit or loss can be very well recognized immediately if the sale price is below fair value. But the issue comes when the sale price is above fair value. If it is the case, then whatever the difference between sale price and fair value has to be amortized over the lease period if it is profit. And if it is loss, in that case, that loss has to be recognized immediately, but profit which is resulting from difference between selling price and fair value should be deferred and amortized. So, in case there is a profit, there has to be always an amortization. In case there is a loss, in this case, that should be recognized immediately. So, that is the essence of sale price above fair value, which can only happen because the difference between these two might be definitely adjusted in the future lease payments. We don't have to check that. Automatically, the profit has to be amortized over the lease term rather than recognizing it immediately. But to what extent profit has to be amortized? To that extent where the sale price is above fair value, that much profit has to be definitely amortized. If there is a profit genuinely which is equal to fair value, the sale price, or even let us say the carrying amount is equal to the fair value or carrying amount is less than fair value, then to that extent profit can be recognized immediately. But always when there is a difference which is sale price over and above the fair value, that is never recognized immediately. That will be only amortized over the lease period. That is a very important point of sale and lease back transactions, which can be asked as questions. And interest rate implicit on lease is nothing but the IRR that we have to calculate from the point of view of lessor. That has to be made in mind very clearly. That is why while calculating this IRR, we have to take lease payments also, which are lease rentals, plus guaranteed residual value also, plus unguaranteed residual value also. When we say lessor, automatically unguaranteed residual value also will be considered. When it is lessee only, then only minimum lease payments will be considered, which include only the lease rentals and guaranteed residual value. So this concept has to be kept in mind. Whenever the question is from the point of view of lessee, unguaranteed residual value has no relevance. Unguaranteed residual value will have relevance only when we are looking at lessor's point of view. So with this quick revision and understanding of AS 19 conceptual aspects, let us apply those concepts into some of the problems related to AS 19. Most of these problems are given either in ICA material or past examinations in which these were asked. Look at the first question. S Square Private Limited has taken machinery on finance lease from SK Limited. So we have to identify the parties carefully. S Square Private Limited is the lessee and SK Limited is the lessor. They have taken a machinery on finance lease very clearly. We don't have to determine the nature of the lease, it is given. But the information is given as under. Lease term was 4 years. Fair value at the inception of the lease was 20 lakhs rupees. Lease rental is 6,25,000 rupees per annum at the end of the year. Guaranteed residual value is 1,25,000. Expected residual value is 3,75,000. So we have to be careful. That means how much would have been the unguaranteed residual value? 2,50,000. That doesn't matter to us. Only for understanding, guaranteed residual value is 1,25,000. When expected residual value is 375, automatically we should understand there might be some unguaranteed residual value also for the lessor's point of view. So depends. If this question is a lessee point of view, then we don't care about unguaranteed and all. If it is lessor's point of view, then we have to look at unguaranteed residual value also. Implicit interest rate is already given. In general, it will be given 15%. Then discounted rates, first, second, third, fourth years are given. When they are given in the exam very clearly, you use them only. Don't have to become creative there, taking too many decimals or taking too less decimals. When the discount rates are given, which generally they will be given, you take them as given in the question. If they are not given, then you can calculate for at least 3 or 4 decimals. 3 minimum at least you keep it. But ultimately the calculations whenever we take the present value type of scenarios will be approximate. Approximate does not mean there will be too much of variation or difference. Smaller differences in arithmetical final answers are okay, don't have to worry about that. But when there are discount rates already given, generally there will not be much of difference in the answers, they will be almost the same. But what is the question? Data is there. What is the question? Question is calculate the value of lease liability as per AS 19. From that we have to understand for whom we are calculating anything. Who will have a lease liability? Naturally the lessee will have a lease liability. Lessor, how can he have any liability? He will not have any liability. He will have an asset only, that is receivable. And lease liability means the lessee's liability, which has to be recognized at the inception of the lease. Also at the same time, asset also has to be recognized. That doesn't have to be separately asked. When you are calculating lease liability, automatically we are also calculating asset value also, which should be recognized at the inception of the lease by lessee. But whatever is asked, that is what our job is to calculate that. So how to calculate lease liability or asset is simply, according to Accounting Standard 19, the minimum of, the lower of fair value of the asset at the inception of the lease or present value of the minimum lease payments. That's what the AS 19 said. You have to write that. Then you have to also write that minimum lease payments means lease rentals also and guaranteed residual value also. So our job is finally to calculate the present value of minimum lease payments. That's what we are supposed to calculate. So let us do that. Here, first, second, third, fourth, how many years? 4 years only. And again 4 because that will be guaranteed residual value. So, how much are the lease rentals that are going to be paid by the lessee at the end of each year? You can use annuity also, there is no problem. That is where our smartness has to be there. If the problem is for 5 marks, directly if you use annuity, nothing will be there. So, because they have given separately discount factors, a small statement will give a better presentation, only for presentation purposes. Final answer we can obtain as the way we wish. But can we expect higher marks for that is the question. That decision you have to take according to the nature of the question. If the question was big already, asked for less number of marks, you can cut down your presentation. If not, you have to elaborate your presentation. That smartness has to be shown on the exam day. So let us just follow a same type of procedure in general for most of the problems, wherein we calculate the things in detail. So 4 years is the lease term and lease rent is 6,25,000 per annum at the end of the year. End of the year is also an important point. Whenever we are discounting anything, we have to calculate the discounted amounts at the end of the year only. So 6,25,000 each year's lease rent is there. And after the lease term is finished, after 4 years, at the end of 4th year, there is a guaranteed residual value of 1,25,000. 1,25,000 is also there. So we don't care about unguaranteed residual value here. Why? Because we are looking at lessee. Lessee doesn't even know that. What is the expected residual value? Why should he care? He is not the owner, right? After all, he is only a lessee. But still, he doesn't have any idea or doesn't need to have any idea about unguaranteed residual value or expected residual value. What he guarantees to pay, that's what matters to him. He was ready to pay 1,25,000 according to agreement. That only we will take as unguaranteed residual value. Now, let us take discount factors, or you can technically call them as PVIF, present value interest rate factors. Present value interest rate factors, whenever you write, you always write what is the percentage that you are using, because it is given in the question very clearly. 15% is the rate at which PVIFs are already given. When they are given, just copy paste. Don't try to separately calculate them once again. 0.8696, 0.7561, 0.6575, 0.5718. Same thing for fourth year again. So these are the PVIFs: 8696, 7561, 6575 and 5718. That's it. Then what is the present value of these amounts? So how much is going to be the present value of these amounts, that we can calculate. How? Multiplying this amount with PVIFs. You have to do these calculations on paper. It's not that easy, just like as I do in the Excel. Here I can do because that facility is there. But you have to do it on paper. Calculations have to be done on paper and on calculator. So multiply these lease rentals with respective discount factors and find out the present value of that for 4 years separately. And also the present value of the guaranteed residual value. After you total all these things, what we get, 18,55,850, that is the present value of minimum lease payments. Present value of minimum lease payments. Because minimum lease payments is nothing but lease rentals plus guaranteed residual value. So we have taken exactly the present value of those minimum lease payments, which came to 18,55,850, which means the asset and liability has to be recorded at 18,55,850, but not 20 lakhs. Because according to S19, we have to take whichever is lower. One is fair value at the inception of the lease or present value of minimum lease payments. In this case, present value of minimum lease payments 18,55,850 is lower. So the final answer for this question is this only, 18,55,850. That is the asset value and liability value which has to be recorded in the books of the lessee at the inception of the lease. That's it. That is how we have to calculate, of course, according to the question. Whatever the question asks, that only we have to calculate. In this question, he asked about the liability, which also, of course, equal to asset as well. That came out to be 18,55,850, since it is lesser than the fair value at the inception of lease. Done. That is question number 1. Now look at another question. This looks from the point of view of lessor. Why? For lessor only there will be unearned finance income, because this question is asking unearned finance income. So lessor point of view, definitely. Let us look at the data first. Prakash Limited leased a machine to the Badal Limited on the following terms. Okay, fair value of the machine is 48 lakhs. Lease term was 5 years. Lease rental per annum was 8 lakhs. Guaranteed residual value was 1.6 lakhs. Expected residual value was 3 lakhs. That means what? Here unguaranteed residual value is important, because difference between expected residual value and guaranteed residual value is nothing but unguaranteed residual value. That will be 1,40,000. Internal rate of return, or you can call it interest rate, implicit on lease, whatever the name you give, that is 15%. And the discount factors are also given for 5 years. When they are given, we have to just take them as they are. Now, what is the question? Question is to ascertain unearned finance income. Our focus has to be only on the question. When the question is asking that, we have to first of all find out what is the formula for unearned finance income. Unearned finance income, what is the formula? First we should know that. What is the formula for that? That is gross investment in lease. Unearned finance income is gross investment in lease minus present value of gross investment in lease. That is a formula for unearned finance income. Gross investment in lease minus present value of gross investment in lease. That has to be always remembered. Whatever the formula we have, those formula only we have to observe. What is unearned finance income is that gross investment minus present value of gross investment. What is gross investment? Once again, as far as lessor is concerned, gross investment is equal to nothing but the lease rentals plus guaranteed residual value plus unguaranteed residual value. That is the formula for gross investment. That is minimum lease payment, which is nothing but lease rental plus guaranteed residual value plus unguaranteed residual value should be taken also for gross investment in lease. So first let us find that out. What is gross investment in lease in this scenario according to the data that is given in the question? So what is lease rentals? Lease rentals, normal lease rentals. That is how much? Per annum 8 lakhs, right? So okay, take it. 8 lakhs into how many years? 5 years. That is lease rentals. Plus guaranteed residual value was 1,60,000, 1.6 lakhs. Plus unguaranteed residual value was 1,40,000 as we already calculated, which is the difference between expected residual value and guaranteed residual value. So that is going to be the gross investment in lease, which is nothing but 43 lakhs. 43 lakhs is the gross investment in lease. We have it now. One of them for our requirement. Whatever is required, that only you should calculate. But for that, you should write the formula. You should refer to AS 19, then substitute. It is not just about doing some calculations and throwing on the paper. When you write more about why you are doing like that, then you get more marks. 43 lakhs is gross investment in lease. Then we have to also find out present value of gross investment in lease. That has to be found out. And naturally, for that, again, we can do like this only. But of course, the data will change. I'm just using the same table, but you have to restart and do it separately. So here, how many years are there here? Here there are 5 years. Amounts all will be different. PVIFs are the same. 15% looks like same. 8696, 7561, 6575, 5718 and 4972. 4972. There is one more that is added for 5th year. For 5th year this is. But for the same 5th year there is guaranteed residual value. For the same 5th year there is unguaranteed residual value also. So years 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus guaranteed residual value plus unguaranteed residual value. When nothing is given, lease rental is supposed to be paid at the end of the year only. Don't have to assume anything else special and great about it. So lease rental per annum is 8 lakhs. Just take that. 8 lakhs. Like that, how many years? 8 years. That is lease rental. Then guaranteed residual value at the end of 5th year is going to be 1.6 lakhs. That is 1,60,000. Then unguaranteed residual value is 1,40,000. Then naturally the total of this will be equal to the present value of gross investment in lease. Gross investment in lease is this only. Already as we calculated 43 lakhs. The total of this without discounting will be 43 lakhs if you see. That is gross investment in lease. But we don't need that. We already calculated that. Now what we calculated 28 lakhs 30,920 is the present value of those gross investment in lease, taking 15% discount rate and the factors already given. So when you have both of them, just find out unearned finance income, which is nothing but gross investment in lease 43 lakhs minus present value of gross investment in lease 28 lakhs 30,920, which means finally the answer is going to be 14 lakhs 69,080. That is the unearned finance income. That is the answer for second question. That's what is asked and that's what we calculated. 14 lakhs 69,080. That's it. In general, the questions will be like this. From the lessee point of view, you will be asked to calculate how much is the asset value or liability value. Both will be same anyway. Which you have to calculate by taking the present value of the minimum lease payments and compare it with the fair value of the asset at the inception of the lease. Whichever is lower you have to take. That is one type of question, quite popular. Another type of question from the lessor's point of view will be to find out unearned finance income. For that, you should first find out gross investment in lease. Then you should deduct from that present value of gross investment in lease. In both cases, present values are important. That is where you have to do the calculations carefully. If any calculations are done wrongly, final answer will naturally go for a toss. So accuracy and speed both are important. For that purpose, you need to practice on paper. By looking at this, watching this, you will only understand how to do the problem, but that does not mean you know how to do the problem by watching this. You will know how to do a problem and you will be able to do this problem in a quick manner, in an accurate manner only when you do practice on paper with calculator. That is the most important thing. If that is not done, there is no use of looking at all these things. So be very careful, practice these questions number of times. Then only speed will come, then only accuracy will improve. Just like that, on the exam day, suddenly superpowers will not come to us. That is where the majority of the students expect too much from themselves on the exam day than the entire other parts of the months and years. Suddenly, how can you get superpowers on the exam day? Not possible, no? So what we have to do? We will not need any superpowers also. All that we need is simple calculations. For that, we need to practice. That will not come automatically. So do these problems number of times, understand how to do them as well. Then let us move on to other questions which were given in some of the RTPs or past examinations. Win Limited has entered into a 3-year lease arrangement with the Tanya Sports Club in respect of fitness equipments costing 16,99,999.5. That itself is a nonsensical question. We don't need that 50 paise when we are talking about 17 lakhs rupees. It doesn't matter. Let it be there. Let us take it as 17 lakhs. 17 lakhs is the cost of those fitness equipments. Annual lease payments to be made at the end of each year are structured in such a way that the sum of the present values of the lease payments and that of the residual value together equal to the cost of the equipments leased out. And the unguaranteed residual value of the equipment at the expiry of the lease is estimated to be 1,33,500 rupees. The assets would revert to the lessor at the end of the lease, given that the implicit rate of interest is 10%. You are required to calculate the amount of annual lease payment. Here, annual lease payment is not given. We have to calculate that. And not only that, after calculating it, we have to also calculate unearned finance income. Discount rates are given for 10% for 3 years. So, two questions are there here. One is annual lease payments computation, and second thing is unearned finance income. So naturally, this question is majorly from the lessor's point of view. Of course, in some cases, questions can be asked from both parties' point of view. But from lessor's point of view, only unearned finance income will come. And annual lease payments, if you are not given, whether it is lessor or lessee, how can you calculate anything? Because it is not given, we have to find out how much could be the annual lease payments. How to find that out? Because he has given this point very clearly in the question. The annual lease payments to be made at the end of each year are structured in such a way that sum of the present values of the lease payments and that of residual value together equal to the cost of the equipments leased out. So, present value of the lease payments plus residual values present value will be equal to the original cost of the asset. That is how the lease payments themselves are structured. Okay. When we say lease payments, here we are not having any particular calculation to be done in a tabular format. So what we can do conveniently is, we can take the annuity factor for 3 years, because lease payments are going to be uniform. That is always the common point we have to keep in mind. Same lease payments will be there, annual equal lease payments will be there at the end of the each year. That means we should have the annuity factor for 3 years. Let us find that out first. 0.909, according to whatever the numbers given, you don't have to separately find out anything. 3 numbers are given, take those 3 numbers. 0.909 plus 0.826 plus 0.751. 909, 826, 751. So what is the annuity factor here? 2.486. Let us say, if the lease payments are annually X, just for understanding purposes, in general, let us say that if the lease payments are X, then what will be the total of the present value of these lease payments? That will be 2.486X, isn't it? 2.486X will be the present value of annual lease payments, if the annual lease payments are X. So 2.486X plus what? Present value of residual value should be equal to the cost of the equipments leased out. Leased out means we are talking about lessor. But how much is the residual value? That is given also. That is how much? 1,33,500. That is the residual value. But should we take that? No. We should take the present value of that. And that will come at the end of third year. So what is the present value at the end of third year? We have to multiply that with 0.751. So one way we can say 2.486x plus 1,259,000 should be equal to how much? That should be equal to cost of the asset. Okay, you want to take it with the decimal also, that's okay, not a problem. Let us take it. 16,99,000, 99,999.5, whatever it is. Just for exact calculations, 16,99,999.5. That is the cost of the asset. So present value of the lease payments, which is nothing but 2.486x, x we don't know, that is what we have to find out, plus present value of residual value, which is 1,259,000, that is equal to 16,99,000. So that is equal to that. So 2.486x plus can't have symbols here, that is a problem because it will take something like formula. So 2.486x plus 1,259,000 will be equal to 16,99,999.5. On paper you can just easily do this conveniently. So now this minus this will be equal to how much? Naturally 2.486x. Then what will be x? X will be equal to 15,99,741 divided by 2.486, which means it comes to 6,43,500 rupees. That is the answer for first question. That is the annual lease payment. 6,43,500. If that was the annual lease payment, present value of all the three annual lease payments plus present value of the residual value will be equal to 16,99,999.5. Reverse calculation we have done, by which we got annual lease payment of 6,43,500. That is the answer for first question. Then the second question is unearned finance income. See, whenever we need unearned finance income, always the formula are same. What is the formula that we have to apply for unearned finance income? That is gross investment in lease minus present value of gross investment in lease. What is gross investment in lease? That is lease rental plus guaranteed residual value plus unguaranteed residual value. Do we have guaranteed residual value in this question? No sir, it is not there, it is not there. Okay, it is not there means not there, don't worry. It is not there means it's not there, as simple as that. So you have to take only unguaranteed residual value. Whichever one is given, that only we can take. If it is not there, what we can do? So what are the lease rentals here? 6,43,500 into 3. That is there. That is lease rentals. Do this calculation. 6,43,500 into 3. That comes to 1,19,30,500. That is lease rentals. Plus residual value guaranteed, unguaranteed, both it is same. That is only unguaranteed. 133,500. 1,33,500. So 1,33,500 also. If you add, this is gross investment in lease, 20,64,000. Now, what is present value of gross investment in lease? That is present value of 3 years lease rentals plus present value of unguaranteed residual value. And should we calculate once again? There is no point in that. Why? Because we got the annual lease rentals itself by backward calculation. If you take the present value of 643,500, in other words, 643,500 into annuity factor plus whatever the present value of the unguaranteed residual value, it should be naturally same. That should be equivalent to 16,99,999.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. 99.5. What will be the unearned finance income here? This is gross investment in lease minus present value of gross investment in lease, which is 16,99,999.5. That means the answer finally is going to be 3,64,000.5. If you want that 0.5 also very particularly, 3,64,000.5. Or otherwise you can just say 3,64,000 or 3,64,001 rupee. That is the unearned finance income from this question. That type of questions can also be asked. For this purpose, once again, you have to show the calculations carefully. What is asked, you have to identify carefully. According to what is asked, our answer has to be presented in a better manner. So here, annual lease payment itself is not given. We had to calculate that by equating the present value of those annual lease payments, which we don't know. Because they are equal, we could take annuity factor, multiplied with x if at all, if we assume the annual lease payments are x, plus the present value of the unguaranteed residual value in this case, because there is no guaranteed residual value at all, that should be equal to the original cost of asset, which means annual lease payment should be 6,43,500. If that is the case, how much is the gross investment in lease? That will be 20,64,000. How much will be the unearned finance income? That will be 3,64,001. That's it. That is question number 3. Now, look at another question. These type of questions were asked in the earlier exams also. That was given in RTP also recently. Aksat International Limited has given a machinery on lease for 36 months. Given means it is a lessor, and its useful life is 60 months. In other words, 5 years. Useful life, that is. Cost and fair market value of the machinery is 5 lakhs. That is the initial value of the machinery at the inception of the lease. The amount will be paid in 3 equal annual installments, and the lessee will return the machinery to lessor at the termination of the lease. Though the life of the machine is 5 years, the lease period is not 5 years, it is only 3 years. We have to be careful about lease period. We are not bothered about its life and all. Lease period is 3 years only. After the lease period, lessee will return the machinery to the lessor at the termination of the lease, and unguaranteed residual value at the end of 3 years is 50,000. IRR of the investment is 10%. Present value of annuity factor already given of 1 rupee due at the end of 3 years at the rate of 10% IRR is 2.4868, and present value of 1 rupee due at the end of 3rd year is 0.7513. So when the annuity factor and already present value factor at the end of the 3rd year is already given, directly we can use them. What is required from us? We are required to calculate and comment with reason whether the lease constitutes a finance lease or operating lease. If it is a finance lease, calculate unearned finance income. So the point is, he has not mentioned the lease rental. But what he said, cost and fair value of the machinery was 5 lakhs. The amount will be paid in 3 equal annual installments. So amount means entire amount will have to be paid in 3 equal annual installments. But will the lessee pay unguaranteed residual value also? Why will he pay? He will not pay. So how much the lease rentals have to first of all cover? That we should find out. For that purpose, first we should know what is the present value of this unguaranteed residual value at the end of 3rd year. That is 50,000 into 0.7513. That lessee has nothing to do. He will not pay that. 37,565 rupees. But how much the lessee will pay? Present value of the amounts that the lessee will pay will be how much? That will be 5 lakhs minus of this 37,565. This much should be covered by the lease rentals. Means what? This should be the present value of the lease rentals. That is not lease rental. You cannot say divided by 3. No. That is present value of lease rentals. If at all you want to say lease rentals are X, then 2.4868 X is equal to 462,435, which means what will be the lease rentals? Lease rentals will be 462,435 divided by 2.4868. That is the lease rental. In other words, 1,85,000 956 rupees approximately is going to be the lease rental. That is the lease rental annually. Of course, that is required for identifying the unearned finance income later. But prior to that, of course, it is going to be a finance lease only, not an operating lease. Why? Because the lessee is covering substantially the fair value of the asset. How much is covering? 460 to 435 present value of the lease rentals divided by original fair value of the asset. He is covering almost 92% or 92.5% of the fair value the lessee himself is paying. That means what? Substantial amount of the fair value is being paid by the lessee as lease rentals, which means it is a finance lease. More than 90% definitely is a substantial amount. So it is a finance lease, no doubt. It will be a finance lease only. If it is not a finance lease, there is no point of unearned finance income. That's a different story, but we have to prove that. No? For that, you should find out this 92.5%. Without this, marks will not be granted. So you should first find out what should be the present value of the lease rentals or minimum lease payments. In this case, anyway, there is no guaranteed residual value. That is why minimum lease payments present value itself is 460 to 435. That is the present value of minimum lease payments. That is covering 92.5% of the fair value of the asset, which means it is a finance lease. That is what you should conclude. First part of the question. Second part of the question, unearned finance income. Once again, same story. Unearned finance income means what? Same formula you have to write. What are the formulae? Gross investment in lease minus present value of gross investment in lease. Then what is gross investment in lease? That is lease rentals plus guaranteed residual value plus unguaranteed residual value. In this case also there is no guaranteed residual value, there is only unguaranteed residual value. That's okay. Whatever the case given, accordingly we have to take. So what will be the lease rentals? Not present values, just lease rentals. That is annual lease rental we already know. Multiplied with how many years now? 3 years. That is lease rentals. So lease rentals will be how much? If we calculate 5,57,867 rupees or 68 rupees. That is the lease rentals. But that is not gross investment in lease. Plus unguaranteed residual value is also there. How much is that? That is 50,000 rupees. That is given in the question. Unguaranteed residual value is 50,000 rupees. So what is the gross investment in lease? 6,07,868. That is the gross investment in lease. Then what is the present value of the gross investment in lease? Once again we don't have to calculate. Why? Because we ourselves calculated the annual installment by reverse calculation, by taking present value of unguaranteed residual value, by taking the balance to be the present value that lease rental should cover. By taking that only we got this annual lease payment of 185,956, which means if you take once again 185,956 into what is that, 2.4868 plus present value of guaranteed unguaranteed residual value, still it will be 5 lakhs only. Naturally it should be 5 lakhs. In other words, the present value of gross investment in lease itself is 5 lakhs. So we don't have to do it once again. Directly we can say gross investment in lease 6,07,868 minus 5 lakhs, that is 7,868. That is the answer. That is unearned finance income, 107,868. That's it. That is the answer for this question. It is a finance lease since 92.5% of the fair value is covered by minimum lease payments, and unearned finance income is 107,868. Perfect 5 marks questions. These are all 5 marks questions. Perfectly possible to be asked, and those were asked also. This question was asked earlier for a general understanding. Generally these things in a normal font or RTP type questions. This font is institute material. This font is old questions, old practice manual questions. Okay, fine. You don't need to know all of that. Ultimately, having the ability to solve the questions is important. How do we do that? Where do we do that? That doesn't matter. What is this question? This was asked in previous examinations, past examination questions these are. A Limited sold a JCB having a written down value of 20 lakhs rupees to B Limited for 24 lakhs rupees. And the same JCB was leased back by B Limited to A Limited. So sale and lease back. The lease is operating lease. See, always the sale and lease back question will be operating only, because there is nothing to find out in finance lease. If it is finance lease, profit or loss will be deferred and amortized. That's it. So there is nothing special. But operating lease, multiple possibilities are there. In the context of accounting standard 19, leases, explain. So you cannot just say final answer, you have to just explain that also. Calculate what is the amount to be recognized in the P&L and what is the amount to be deferred and amortized also. Like that you have to show those calculations very well. But here we will only just write the summary of it. In exam you have to enhance your presentation. So how to treat these following items? Let us say first one by one. First and foremost point, for each of these transactions we can have three things to be in mind. Whether which one is coming in between, which is more, which is less, those all things can be separately taken care from each of those points perspective. Let us first take point number 1 or case number 1. In this case, let us put them in sequence. First numbers, then we will write what those are. In case number 1, what was the carrying amount of the asset? That was 20 lakhs. And fair value is also 24 lakhs. Sale price is also 24 lakhs. So you can write in sequence. 24 is higher, again 24, and then 20. Okay. Three things are there. What is this 24? You can keep anything here. That could be sale price, and the same thing is fair value also, because both are equal, and 20 is the carrying amount. Now, always keep in mind one point, logic, no need to by heart anything. Logic is that only we will have issue when sale price is above fair value. If sale price is equal to fair value, there is no problem at all. Absolutely, there is no issue. So whatever the profit or loss, that can be recognized immediately. But what is profit or loss? Profit or loss is always difference between carrying amount and selling price. So how much is the profit or loss here? 4 lakhs profit. 4 lakhs profit is there in this case. So what is the treatment here? I am writing it as P&L. That means it should be immediately recognized. There is no need to defer it or postpone it, because sale price is equal to fair value. Profit is 4 lakhs because selling price is 24 lakhs and carrying amount was 20 lakhs. Book profit naturally is 4 lakhs. That will be recognized immediately. So this is the treatment in the first scenario. So for each of them, you can have a small computation and then show them separately. That is the first scenario. Then second scenario, fair value 20, sale price 24. Okay, so 24 is the selling price, top of that 20 fair value also, and naturally original carrying amount is also 20, that did not change. So 24, what is that each of them representing? Clearly write it, not necessarily in the same sequence. In this case, selling price, fair value and carrying amount. Incidentally, it is the same sequence. Now first of all, when selling price is more than fair value, then the profit or loss should be deferred and amortized. Incidentally, here also there is 4 lakhs profit, but the treatment is completely different. Treatment is what? It should be deferred and amortized over the period of the lease term. Why is that? Because sale price is more than fair value. When sale price is more than fair value, then that much profit has to be definitely deferred and amortized. That was case number 2. Then case number 3, same way, take the numbers first. 20 is carrying amount always. But 22, 25. Okay, 25 on top, 22, then 20. 20 is carrying amount, there is no difference. What is this 22 as per this? This is fair value. And what is this 25? That is selling price. Okay. Now what is the scenario? Is the selling price more than fair value? Yes. To what extent? 3 lakhs. So 3 lakhs profit should be deferred and amortized for sure. Whenever selling price is more than fair value, that much profit has to be deferred and amortized for sure. How much is that? 3 lakhs. But still the actual profit is not 3 lakhs, actual profit is 5 lakhs because selling price is 25, carrying amount is only 20, 5 lakhs profit. So what about the remaining 2 lakh profit? That 2 lakh profit has to be immediately recognized in P&L account. That should be recognized immediately. So 2 lakh should be recognized immediately and 3 lakh should be deferred and amortized. That is the answer for third question. 3 lakhs to be deferred and amortized because selling price is more than fair value to the extent of 3 lakhs and remaining 2 lakhs can be definitely recognized immediately in the P&L. That is the treatment for third scenario. Now, fourth scenario. Let us just take similar to that situation. Okay, carrying amount is same. So what is the selling price here in the fourth scenario? Selling price is 18 lakhs. That is lowest. Lowest is selling price here. Right? Lowest is selling price. Fair value is 25 and carrying amount is 20. Carrying amount did not change. That is the same thing which is a fact in the books of accounts. But fair value is 25. Selling price is 18. Now, variety scenario. In this situation, first and foremost, what is the total profit or loss? Total. That is the difference between carrying amount and selling price. Looks like a loss, definitely. How much is the loss? 2 lakhs loss. 2 lakhs loss is there. But that 2 lakhs loss is not the point here to be noted. Always, whenever there is a difference between fair value and selling price, that much definitely has to be deferred and amortized. So, the loss to the extent of 7 lakhs has to be deferred and amortized, and profit to the extent of 2 lakhs, the loss to the extent of, the profit to the extent of 7 lakhs has to be deferred and amortized. Whatever is to be the distinction between fair value and selling price. What is that? That first definitely should be deferred and amortized. Fair value is more than selling price by how much? 7 lakhs, right? So that is 7 lakhs profit. That should be deferred and amortized. So naturally, when the loss is actually 2 lakhs, how can that loss be found out here? That loss has to be recognized immediately. Something is wrong. I think we are looking at it wrong way. The sequence has changed here. So read this one by one carefully. Point number 4, right? Not 5, yeah. So fair value 25 lakhs, okay. Sale price is 18 lakhs. Then carrying amount is 20 lakhs, okay. So the problem comes when the selling price is more than fair value, right? So earlier we had selling price above fair value. So that much extent we have to, if the selling price is above fair value like this, it has to be deferred and amortized. If the selling price is above fair value, it has to be deferred and amortized. But here, if you observe, the selling price is below fair value, so there is no problem. So there is a loss of 2 lakhs. That's all. So that 2 lakh profit, whatever loss it is actually in this case, this 2 lakh loss has to be recognized immediately in the P&L. But condition apply. What is the condition? Provided that loss is not compensated by the future lease payments. That is the point. So if there is a loss here because of the selling price being less than fair value, that was the second scenario, on a broader level, there were three scenarios, three broader cases. Selling price equal to fair value, there is no problem. Always that profit or loss has to be recognized immediately. Selling price below fair value, which is this case, then if it is profit, that can be recognized immediately. But if it is loss, that has to be recognized in P&L account with a condition, provided it is not compensated in future lease payment. So that is the point we should write. So that also has to be written with a condition. Conditional recognition of 2 lakhs loss will be there in this case. Identify once again. Selling price is not more than fair value, it is less than fair value. There is no problem in that. Problem only will be when the selling price is more than fair value. So that is the fourth point. Then fifth point. Once again, fair value is 18 lowest, then 19 is the selling price, then 20 is the carrying amount, which is the highest. So carrying amount, selling price and fair value. Write them in sequence, that is better always, so that we can identify carefully. But once again here also, what is the problem here? Problem is only with 1 lakh, because selling price is more than fair value only by 1 lakh. However, there is a loss of 1 lakh. So when there is a loss of 1 lakh and selling price is more than fair value by 1 lakh, can we recognize that loss immediately when the selling price is more than fair value? No, that cannot be done. Which means, according to AS 19, whatever the difference between selling price and fair value, that has to be deferred and amortized for sure. Which means 2 lakh profit has to be deferred and amortized. That is for sure. That has to be deferred and amortized. That is the difference between what? Selling price and fair value. Selling price being more than fair value, that is where our problem is always. So that 1 lakh profit has to be deferred and amortized. But the net loss is 2 lakhs now. So how much loss should be recognized immediately? 2 lakhs loss should be recognized immediately. So that should be charged to P&L account. So that is the last case. Even in the AS 19 also, that was the last case. When selling price is more than fair value, whatever that difference is, that has to be the profit that is deferred and amortized, whatever that amount may be. In this case, it is 1 lakh. Since there is actual loss of 1 lakh, so how can that 1 lakh be there? Loss net only when 2 lakhs loss is recognized in the P&L. That 2 lakhs is nothing but the difference between fair value and carrying amount, difference between 20 and 18 lakhs. So that should be charged to P&L immediately. These are the various points which have to be clearly written with the reasons. So in the first case, the entire amount of 4 lakhs profit has to be recognized immediately. In the second case, entire amount of 4 lakhs has to be deferred and amortized. In the third case, 3 lakhs profit should be deferred and amortized. 2 lakhs profit should be recognized in P&L. And in the fourth case, 2 lakhs loss should be recognized in the P&L, provided, you have to write that condition, the future lease payments are not compensating this loss. And in the fifth case, 2 lakhs loss should be recognized immediately in P&L, but 1 lakh profit should be deferred and amortized. These are the various cases. Operating lease and sale and lease back transactions. Very, very important type of question. Very well it can be expected. Always keep the core point in mind. Our problem of deferred and amortization only comes when the selling price is more than fair value. The difference between selling price and fair value, if selling price is more than fair value, has always to be deferred and amortized. What happens to the remaining thing? That depends upon what are those remaining things. But one thing common always is, if selling price is more than fair value, that amount to that extent has to be always deferred and amortized. That's it. That is operating lease and sale and lease back transaction. Now, look at another question which was also given in earlier examinations related to interest rate implicit on lease. So what is the meaning of the term interest rate implicit on lease? That was a theory question. So you have to clearly write this thing. What is interest rate implicit on lease? It is the discount rate that at the inception of the lease causes the aggregate present value of minimum lease payments under a finance lease from the standpoint of view of lessor plus any unguaranteed residual value accruing to the lessor to be equal to the fair value of the leased asset. In other words, it is the discount rate, IRR, that means. So that IRR is interest rate implicit on lease. The first part of the question is theory. This question was given for 8 marks earlier. Similar questions without theory can be given for 5 marks. Even if theory is asked, you can just write simple point in one line. It is a discount rate at which the present value of the minimum lease payments and any unguaranteed residual value will be equal to the fair value of the leased asset. Enough. Other things need not be written. Directly, if you can write the answer in one line, what that is the meaning of interest rate implicit on lease. Now what is required is also here to calculate that interest rate implicit on lease from the following details. Annual lease rent is given 80,000 rupees at the end of each year. Lease period is 5 years. Guaranteed residual value is 40,000. Unguaranteed residual value is 24,000. Fair value at the inception of the lease is 3,20,000. Discount rates are given for the first 5 years at 10% and 14%. Why is that? Because we need to find out IRR naturally. That is why discount rates are given also. So we just need to find out the present values here. So all that we need to do is find out the present values of different years payments. You can use annuity also, not a problem, depending upon time availability and the number of marks that are awarded in the question. So first and foremost thing, here we have five years. So amounts will be naturally different. Present value interest rate factors at 10%. First let us take 10% as given in the question, 0.909. Whatever is given, that only you take. 0.826, 0.751, 0.683, 0.621. So that is for 5 years. But that will continue because there will be guaranteed residual value also and there will be unguaranteed residual value also. So for 5 years, normal amounts are what? Lease rentals. 80,000 rupees at the end of each year. So 80,000 rupees is the lease rental. So for each year, if you take 80,000 up to 5 years, these are the lease rentals. So present value of lease rentals is this much, 303,200. But that is not only the one what we want. But that is only lease rentals. Minimum lease payments include guaranteed residual value as well as unguaranteed residual value, which are 40,000 and 24,000. Minimum lease payments include guaranteed residual value. So 40,000 if you take. The present value of minimum lease payments is this much, 328,040. But that is not interest rate implicit on lease means. That includes present value of any unguaranteed residual value also. So unguaranteed residual value also, first of all, we are calculating from the point of view of lessor. That we have to keep in mind. In the lessor's point of view, unguaranteed residual value also should be taken, which means 24,000 should also be taken at 10% rate. This is the total of present values of all these things. If at all you want to take NPV type of formula, so that for IRR it will be easy. What will be the positive NPV in this case at 10%? Because fair value at the inception of the lease is 3,20,000. So NPV here will be minus 3,20,000 of that. That will be 22,944. Let us call this NPV 1 only for calculation purposes. Then let us take the same thing once again and calculate it for NPV 2. So here amount are same, but now PVIFs are at 14%. So let us take 14%. 0.877, 0.769, 0.675, 0.592, 0.519, 0.519, 0.519. So negative NPV, this is NPV 2. Actually at a higher rate, negative NPV. So for calculating IRR, it is better to have one NPV positive, one NPV negative. Then IRR is nothing but lower rate of discount, that is a 10 plus NPV 1 divided by NPV 1 minus NPV 2. So what is NPV 1 minus NPV 2? NPV 1 22,944 minus of minus will become plus, that is 35,168. So what has to be calculated here as IRR? NPV 1 divided by This is to be covered, divided by NPV1 minus NPV2. This should be multiplied with the difference between the discount rates. That is in this case 4, because 10 and 14% are there. So 4. Add this original 10 to that. That's what is IRR. So what is the answer here finally? 12.61% is IRR with this rate of, with this cash flows that we have. Taking NPV1, NPV2, and difference between NPV1 and NPV2 will be plus here, that is 35,168. When we take the formula of IRR, NPV1 divided by NPV1 minus NPV2 multiplied with the difference between R2 minus R1 plus R1. So IRR formula you should already know from financial management. R1 plus NPV1 divided by NPV1 minus NPV2 into R2 minus R1. That formula if we apply, 12.61% is going to be the IRR. That is the interest rate implicit on lease from this question. That's it. These things you have to calculate on paper. In computer they generally be calculated easily, quickly, but for you they will take time. So that is why you have to put pen on paper and do these calculations and find out this answer, 12.61%. That is IRR, that is the interest rate implicit on lease for the lessor. If it was lessee, then we should not take unguaranteed residual value. That's it. Then this question was also given earlier as a theoretical question, case-based question. Such type of questions can also be expected. For this we should know what are the conditions for classifying a particular lease as a finance lease. This has to be very well remembered, as I told already. What are the conditions under which a lease can be called as finance lease? So what we are required to do here is to identify whether a particular lease here is a finance lease or an operating lease, with reasons of course. First point, economic life of asset is 10 years, lease term is 9 years, but asset is not acquired at the end of the lease term, doesn't matter. In spite of that, if the lease term covers the major part of the life of the asset, then it is a finance lease. So obviously this becomes a finance lease. That's it. Then point number 2, lessee has an option to purchase asset at lower than fair value at the end of the lease term, also finance lease. Same thing you have to write. If the lessee has a second point here, lessee has an option to buy the leased asset at the end of the lease term at a price which is lower than the expected fair value at the date on which the option will be exercised, that means it is a finance lease. Then lease payments should be recognized as an expense in the statement of profit and loss of a lessee, then it is an operating lease, then it is not a finance lease. Why? Because only in the case of operating lease, lease payments will be recognized as an expenses in the P&L account of lessee. That is operating lease. Fourth point, present value of minimum lease payment is X, fair value of the asset is Y, and X is equal to Y. When both are equal or even substantially equal also, that is a finance lease. That's what says the point number D. At the beginning of the lease term, present value of the minimum lease payment covers substantially the initial fair value of the leased asset. In this case they are equal itself. So it is a finance lease for sure. Fourth case is finance lease. First case finance lease, second case finance lease, third case operating lease, fourth case finance lease. Fifth case, economic life of the asset is 5 years, lease term is 2 years, but the asset is of a special nature and has been procured only for the use of lessee. Still it is a finance lease, even though the term is not covering the major part of the life of the asset. Point number E will kick in. The asset that is given on lease to the lessee is of a specialized nature and can only be used by the lessee without major modification. If that is the case, then also such lease is called as a finance lease. It is of a special nature, hence it is a finance lease. So these are the answers for each question. For this you have to write these descriptions, then only you will get the marks, because with reason only you get the marks. Just concluding what type of lease it is will not give you full marks. So that was another type of question that was given in the exams and that can be expected also anytime. Now moving on to question number 8. ABC Limited took a machine on lease from XYZ Limited, fair value being 10 lakhs rupees. Economic life of the machine as well as the lease term is 4 years. At the end of each year, ABC Limited pays 3,50,000 rupees. That is a lease rental. The lessee has guaranteed a residual value of 50,000 rupees on the expiry of the lease to the lessor. However, XYZ Limited estimates that the salvage value of the machine will be only 35,000. It doesn't matter to us. For lessee it doesn't matter. Lessor, whatever he takes. It was not practicable for the lessee to determine the interest rate implicit on lease. However, the incremental borrowing rate of ABC Limited is 16.4%. Okay, no problem. As per AS 19, if we cannot take interest rate implicit on lease, we can take incremental borrowing rate of the lessee also. By the way, ABC Limited is the lessee, XYZ Limited is the lessor in this case. And PV factors already given, present value factors for 4 years. You are required to calculate the value of the machinery to be considered by ABC Limited and the finance charges for each year. Two calculations are there. Initial calculation is present value of minimum lease payments or fair value at the beginning of the lease, whichever is lower. But that is not the question ending yet. Finance charges for each year also it is asking, means we have to split the annual lease payments into finance charges as well as payment towards principal. That second calculation also is required. But normally for normal first calculation we can have similar type of things. But what is the rate here? 16.4%. 16.4%. We don't need to worry about that because already the discount rates are given. When the discount rates are given, just need to copy paste them. So PVIFs are what? Take them carefully. 0.8591, 8591, 0.7381, 0.6341, 0.5447. That is at the end of 4th year, and also same will be taken for guaranteed residual value because lessee has guaranteed residual value of 50,000 rupees on the end of 4th year. But each year, how much is the lease rental? That was given in the question. That is 3,50,000 rupees. That is the lease rental. So 3,50,000 rupees each year will be paid. 50,000 rupees will be paid as guaranteed residual value at the end of the lease term. So what is the present value of all these things? That is the present value of minimum lease payments. That is 9,98,835. Present value of minimum lease payments is 998,835. But what was the fair value of the asset? 10 lakhs. Whichever is lower has to be taken. How much smaller the difference may be? We have to take 998,835 as the value of the machinery to be considered by lessee. The entry in the books of the lessee should be asset account at R, whatever the machinery it is, machinery account at R2, lessor account, that is XYZ Limited account. So plant and machinery account at R2, XYZ Limited account, amount will be 998,835. That was first question. Second question, finance charges for each year also we have to calculate. For that purpose, we need to split for each year how much will be the finance charges and how much will be the principal amount repayment. So let us say starting with 0th year, in other words, beginning of first year. Beginning of year 1, what is the situation? Then what happens? End of year 1. Then end of year 2. Then end of year 3. Then end of year 4. These are the things that we can have. At the beginning of the year 1, what was the amount that is supposed to be total outstanding towards the principal? That we know. That is the present value of the minimum lease payments, 998,835. That was a liability, right? So 998,835 is the amount that is there at the beginning of the period as a liability, right? That is outstanding. But at the end of the year 1, on this 998,835, if you calculate 16.4% interest, how much will be the interest amount? Interest amount only if you take, beginning there will not be anything. But at the end of year 1, what is the interest amount on this outstanding principal? That is 16.4%. 16.4%. You have to do the calculations. That will be how much? 1,63,809. That is the interest. But how much is the lease rental? 3,50,000. Which means how much is the amount that is payable towards principal. Towards principal it will be 350,000 minus interest amount. That much is there which will be paid towards the principal amount. Then naturally, how much is the principal amount that is balance? 998 whatever it is minus the principal amount that has already been paid, 8,12,644 is balance principal amount at the end of year 1. Same calculations you have to continue for other years also. Like this, if you do, how much is going to be the principal amount due at the end of year 2? 595,918. How much is going to be the principal at the end of year 3? 343,648. How much is going to be the principal amount due at the end of year 4? 50,006. Why 50,006? That is not principal amount. That is the guaranteed residual value. 6 rupees difference is there because of rounding error of this discount rates, whatever they are given. So that is why 50,000 rupees whatever is there remaining is the guaranteed residual value that will be paid by lessee to the lessor. So how much is the interest charges for each year? These are the interest charges for each of the years. 163,809, 133,274, 97730, 56,358. That is a total of interest charges. Okay, so that is the total of it. Of course, if you add all of them and then also add the principal amount plus this will be naturally equal to 15 lakhs rupees. That is the total amount that this person is paying. That is 14 lakhs 50,000 rupees. That is the total amount in the form of 3,50,000 each year lease rentals plus 50,000 guaranteed residual value at the end of the period, 14 lakhs 50,000 rupees. So that is only for checking. But amount of interest each year was what that was asked in the question. That is this 4 amounts at the end of 4 different years. Interest amount will be charged. That is the finance charges for each year. That's all. This is how interest has to be calculated. And amount towards principal also can be separately taken. So balance principal can be taken here. So like this, a table has to be written with which we can find out what is the interest charges related to each year. That's all. That was question number 8. That type of questions can also be expected. Then question number 9 says, Sun Limited wishes to obtain a machine costing 30 lakhs rupees by way of lease. The effective life of the machine is 14 years, but the company requires it only for first 3 years. It enters into an agreement with Star Limited for a lease rental of 3 lakhs rupees per annum payable in arrears, and implicit rate of interest is 15%. Chief Accountant of Suez Limited is not sure about the treatment of these lease rentals and seeks your advice. The simple point is, first of all, we have to find out whether it is an operating lease or finance lease. Cost of the machine or fair value of the machine at the beginning of the lease is 30 lakhs. Effective life of the machine is 14 years. But lease rental or lease period is only 3 years. Can it be called as a substantial period? Definitely not. The lease rental period or lease term is not substantially covering the life of the asset. That condition not satisfied. That you have to write separately in a separate paragraph. Then let us check the amounts related things. Lease rental is 3 lakhs rupees per annum. And what will be the present value of those lease rentals? Given annuity factor is 3.36. Whatever is given, take that only. So what is the annuity factor and what is the present value of the lease rentals? We can say it is only 10 lakhs 8,000 rupees is the present value. So how much percentage of the total cost of the asset it is covering? 10 lakhs 8,000 divided by 30 lakhs. If you take, it is only covering around 34% of the total fair value of the asset. Can we say it is covering substantially the fair value? No. So since lifetime also, even in that condition it is not a finance lease. Even from financial point of view also it is not a finance lease. That is why simply this lease that Sun Limited wishes to obtain is an operating lease. Chief accountant has to treat these lease rentals as expenses. That's all. No other calculations, nothing required. Simply that he has to debit his P&L account with 3 lakhs rupees. Whatever the lease rentals he is paying, that is 3 lakhs, he will charge them to profit and loss account. That is what we should write as a case-based question. For this, you have to write it in detail. How this lease is an operating lease, or we can say how this is not a finance lease. If you prove, automatically it becomes an operating lease, then the treatment you can write. Such type of case-based questions can also be expected. Now, another question very similar to what we have solved already. The JR Limited took a machine on lease from Deluxe Limited. The fair value of that is 11,50,000. Economic life of the machine as well as the lease term is 4 years. At the end of each year, lessee pays 3,50,000 and JR Limited guaranteed residual value of 70,000 on expiry of the lease to Deluxe Limited. However, Deluxe Limited estimates the residual value will be only 25,000. That doesn't matter. Interest rate implicit is 10%. Present value factors are given. Calculate the value of machinery to be considered by JR Limited and the value of the lease liability as per AS 19. Only one question that is very similar to this. Let us take the amounts separately. Of course, all the things will be different here. I think the amounts are same, incidentally. Fair value is different, of course. The economic life of the machine is 4 years. End of each year, lessee pays 3,50,000 to lessor, okay? And guaranteed residual value is 70,000, not 50,000. So 70,000 let us take. And most importantly, take the present value interest rate factors correctly at 10%. Write the percentage on top of this. Show it clearly. What percentage you are taking. You should be clear. That should be shown clearly also. So 0.909, 0.826, 0.751, 909, 826, 751, 683 and 683. That's all. What is the present value of the lease payments? 11,56,960. That is the present value of minimum lease payments, which includes present value of guaranteed residual value. So check the PVIFs carefully. 909, 826, 751, 683, 683. Correct. 3,50,000 is the lease rental HE. That's all. So when 11,56,960 is the present value of the minimum lease payments, but fair value is only 11,50,000, which has to be considered by JR Limited. Whichever is lower, 11,50,000 has to be taken. So answer is not 11,56,960. 11,50,000 is the answer. Why? Because fair value is lower than the present value of minimum lease payments. Hence, this is the amount at which the asset as well as liability has to be debited and credited respectively by JR Limited. That's it. These are the various types of questions that can be expected in the exams. Those were given also in the earlier exams. Very similar questions can very well be expected in the upcoming exams. Practice these questions carefully on paper with calculator and then try the questions if at all you encounter any other questions elsewhere on your own also. Most of the questions which are available in the public domain have already been discussed. Main thing is lessor point of view, lessee point of view, how the calculations will change and how the calculations have to be done is one thing you have to remember from formula point of view or concept point of view, then application in the form of calculations on paper with the calculator as well. That's it. With that we can conclude this AS 19 conceptual discussion as well as problems also. In another class we will discuss another accounting standard. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Thank you very much.